This episode is brought to you by Airbus, U.S. Space and Defense. Marine Corps Expeditionary Advanced Base operations require logistical support when and where Marines need it. The Airbus UH-72 Unmanned Logistics Connector provides proven performance and reliability alongside next-generation autonomous capability. As the Marine Corps revolutionizes warfare, the UH-72 Unmanned Logistics Connector evolves to support it. Visit AirbusUS.com to learn more. That's AirbusUS.com.
So we are here on the floor of Modern Day Marine Day 3, and we get a lot of talk about working with allies and partners. But today we have one of those allies and partners, Ross Douglas, who is a Australian Army veteran and also is the manager for Navy Marine Corps relations with Echodyne. Ross, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, William. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. So don't mind, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Who you are, where you're from, and how you became a member of the Australian military.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me today. I joined the Australian Army in 2001. I've been out living in America since '09, but really was just interested in the military my whole life. I lived near a Special Forces Army base in Western Australia, so I always had some sort of connectivity, as well as my grandparents all were service members as well. So there's always some history and some drive to serve the country and join the military.
That's it. What military experiences your your family had before? Were they at Gallipoli by chance?
They were, yes. Actually, they were. Yeah. So my grandfather served in the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and then my dad was his father is from England. He was a Red Beret. Parachuted over the Rhine in World War II, and had a pretty decorated career.
That's incredible. So, so you had this sort of military lineage that you wanted to fulfill. What was your experience in the Army like?
I mean, I had a great time. I have made lifelong friends and felt like that I was contributing to something larger than myself.
And did you do any deployments, or what branch specifically? What was your MOS?
I was a combat engineer.
Okay.
Cool.
And my only deployment was actually a border security related deployment where we were on Navy ships conducting boarding operations for maritime security.
Awesome. So before, for our audience, before we hit record, we were talking a little bit, and someone made a comment, as the average American, what has the Australian military been doing? And then you Ross, what was your response to that?
Basically, wherever our nation partners, specifically the US, wherever they go, we're either there before or at the same time as our allied partners. We have a good working relationship with the US Defense Force, so it's important to have interoperability and cooperation, especially within the Five Eyes.
And when you served in the Australian military, did you have were involved in any of that coordination personally, or?
No, I didn't have too much interaction as far as multinational operations go, but it definitely was more on the infantry side and larger scale exercises that they would come out and participate in on either a yearly or every second year.
All right, awesome.
I guess just to back up just a little bit, so when you were coming up, as a kid, you come from a family member or a family who served. You felt that need to service. Was that something that was echoed within society, or are you kind of a pariah wanting to join the military? Oh, that's that kid that just wears camouflage all the time, right? Or
I definitely was that kid.
Okay.
I think the culture in America is definitely more pro-veteran and pro-defense force in general. Obviously, Australian Army's footprint and our defense is smaller, but it's not as publicized, or I would say, I don't want to use the word appreciated, but there's a lot of push in the US to thank the veterans, support the veterans, and there's a lot more awareness driving around that. So there seems to be a much greater visibility to the veteran community in the US.
Okay, but is that a deterrent? Are you guys having recruiting issues or retention issues, or once people are in, they're pretty happy and they stick around?
Honestly, I couldn't really speak to that.
Okay.
I've been out for a few years, but it's ultimately personal interest or personal values, I think, that will drive people to join. It's not so much a media campaigns and the sex appeal of the cool ads that you see where there's a lot of great technology that the US has.
It's really more
about having that motivation or the desire to do something for your country, or you know, if you want to get into specific use cases or operations, you know, the areas of interest that you may personally have.
What about, I guess, geopolitically then? Because obviously for us, you know, you sort of look at like, you know, data being what it is. Like you look at where things are peaking and when they're declining, and generally, you know, if we get attacked, obviously 9/11 it peaks, then we're in a long war and it starts to really kind of bog down, and then people don't want to join anymore, and then, you know, it sort of picks up again. And, you know, when the economy gets bad, then people want, you know, so when you guys are then looking geopolitically as one of our key allies, do you sort of look at America and like, oh man, those fuckers are at it again? Or is it like, oh no, we're totally in, and like, I guess what is it being? Because obviously we always see things through the American lens, and like, oh, that's how the world works, right? But it's obviously it isn't. So how do you guys see sort of the geopolitical landscape as we're?
Well, there's definitely a lot of activity coming out of the US, right? You know, you guys are everywhere, you know, doing a lot of things. Yes. But I think the relationship between, you know, Australia and the US is super important, right?
Critical.
Australia has a huge border, so if there was some sort of conflict, you know, we would need our ally partners to assist us. So it's a two-way street of, you know, work together, train together, take best practices together, and have that collaborative relationship. Because ultimately, I like to say that we're all on the same side, right? I meet a lot of Marines, and I'm honoured that I get to support the warfighter. And my uniform and my flag was different, but we're on the same side.
Sure.
So it's important to have those good comms and, you know, understand how we can interact and operate as best we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what brought you to the States, and what brought you to Echodyne?
Well, the short answer of why I'm in the States is my wife. So she's from California. I met her in Australia, and
where in California?
San Diego. I live right by Camp Pendleton.
Whoop-de-whoop. So we were both born in San Diego.
Nice. Small world.
I grew up in San Clemente, but still claim.
Yep.
Padres, like as I was working last night watching the damn Padre game.
Nice.
Like, so, awesome. How are you liking the Oceanside,
It's great.
area?
Yeah, I've been there nearly 10 years, and you know, it's changed a lot since you guys were there.
Well, dude, the Oceanside Pier just burned down.
It did.
Holy shit.
The restaurant
For
on
the
end
restaurant
did.
there, but that was gnarly.
That was pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Yep. Funnily enough, my mom, who lives in New Zealand, was the first person to tell me. She's tracking all the social media because, you know, she follows the pages and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this a joke?
Yeah,
like,
and I thought it was a joke too. Like, oh, this is photoshopped.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, it's sad, but at the same time, that pier is getting developed anyway. So ultimately, it's probably going to produce a better end product, hopefully.
That's so gnarly. Yeah, my last duty when I was Battalion XO, like I was literally walking distance from that pier. So to see that happen, jeez.
Yeah.
I guess we're totally going down rabbit holes, but I mean, growing up in Australia, did you surf? And then if you did, how was the surf then in California? Just as good, not as good? You missed
the biggest difference, I think, that where I'm from on the West Coast, the water is freezing. It's cold. There's huge sharks. And the ocean itself is really powerful because there's not a lot of land to break up swell. So the ocean's really powerful versus SoCal. It's got a barrier island that kind of helps break up some of the intensity. So, waves are great. And that's why I love living in San Diego. It's kind of comparable to where I'm from know, in Australia, and the cultures are similar. We like to be outside. We like to have a good time, do outdoor sports.
Is it a bit of a culture shock to have like so much military? Like we're sort of talking about, like everybody's like rallying around the flag all the time. I mean, you can't help but like run into service members, right? Like
I think that's kind of just comes with America, right? You know, like you think about America and the military presence. I remember seeing naval ships coming into my hometown ever since I was a little kid. And then we would have U.S. service members coming into town, and it was a big deal. And the naval presence is often the first interaction that a country outside of America has, right? So I think defense and America are pretty closely aligned. You know?
So all right, so you're in the States, family living in God's country. What's going on at Echodyne? Like, what? So you're still in the community, like you're still working defense.
I'm really happy that I get to stay supporting the warfighter, and honestly, take pride in trying to get the best technology into the warfighter's hands so that they can be more effective with their job and, quite honestly, increase the odds of coming home in one piece.
Yeah.
So that's one of the themes of modern day Marine and just in the Marine Corps in general is trying to get Marines closer to industry just because of the changing character of war and the advancement of technology. It's a necessity. What initiatives have you seen since working at Echodyne that's brought the warfighter closer to industry so that better cooperation can occur?
Sure, that's a good question. I would say there's been a pretty solid engagement through consortiums, working groups, advanced naval technology exercise, for example, working with Marine Corps warfighting labs, utilizing the science and technology and experimentation divisions to help them see what the new technology is and how it can combat the emerging threats that are changing with the new landscape of war, particularly around small UAS.
Oh, absolutely. So, well, what is the current, status of that relationship, and how do you think it could be improved?
I think taking any opportunity to work with the warfighter, whether it's a private first class, up to the top of the food chain, is important because you need to have some buy-in from all parties, and it's also important to understand from an operator's perspective how to best employ the technology, how to best utilize it, and then you need to also work up in the command level to make sure that it can become something of a program or a systematic approach so that you can have standardized solutions that are going to be tailored for those specific requirements.
And so if to our young Marines who might be coming to modern day Marine next year, what advice would you give to them? Like, how could they best utilize this event to their advantage?
Go to all the booths and don't be afraid to ask questions. We love to talk to our potential customers or partners, and we like to get customer feedback, and it's great to have engagement and talk with them and see how they may employ something or a challenge that they have faced recently and where technology may provide a solution for them.
Now, on the flip side, to anyone in industry listening to us or potentially might be interested in partaking in modern day Marine, what advice would you give to them to best get the attention of Marine visitors?
I think knowing what your ultimate end state is going to be for that customer and understanding the employment and those use cases for them so that you can make it as easy for them to understand the concept and the employment of how that would be utilized.
Awesome. Vic, do you have anything else?
Yeah, just as far as we're talking the utilization piece, I mean, here we are, obviously, this is, industry partner centric. We've got Marines where we're now entering into that space. What are you guys doing as industry partners amongst each other? So I know with Echodyne, a lot of your systems will be are usable on other platforms.
Yes.
So how important then is for you guys to be talking as well? Vice, trying to just go it alone. Like, Echodyne's going to build a thing, and we're going to do the thing, and we're going to modernize the thing. In the perfect world, that would be optimal.
Sure.
But that's not realistic, and it definitely isn't getting the stuff to the Marines and the soldiers in a timely fashion, right? So, can you talk a little bit how that partnership is, horizontal and vertical sort of thing?
Certainly, yes. So, being that we're a metamaterials radar manufacturer, our capabilities and our technology can be utilized as a standalone sensor, but oftentimes it's integrated into a multimodal solution that has many other sensors integrated into that system. So in a similar fashion to understanding, what the end user wants, the warfighter wants, working with those other system integrator partners and other OEMs, we are often one piece of the puzzle, right? We can detect drones and a multitude of other objects, but what comes after you detect, track, and classify it?
Yeah,
now you need to do something with it, right?
Yeah.
So, what's your mitigation path? What are your effectors? Do you have the ability to use a non-kinetic effector, or can you use a kinetic effector? Do you want to have both? What are the ranges that you anticipate that you're going to deal with? What's the threat look like? The threat landscape? Are you coming up against swarms? What does the threat look like? And then working with those partners to build a solution that has a bit of adaptability, that it's not just a one-trick pony, but it can handle, let's say force protection. So force protection may be considered as, someone might say, I only care about Groups 1 and 2 UAS, but another customer or entity looking at force protection may be considering walkers as well as Groups 1 through 3 or ground-based vehicles.
Right.
So having something that's scalable and open system architecture that can integrate into existing systems, play nicely with common operating pictures software like TAC, for example. You know, being able to understand their landscape and working with the partners to say, we have this one really awesome piece of technology, you have this awesome piece of technology, let's work together. And you know, our radar often will cue and slew other sensors and effectors, right? So you know, we need to make sure that those other partners understand where our value is and how we can actually make their product better than having it as a standalone product.
So yeah, that's the perfect response. You passed. Good job. Well, Russ, man, this has been really great. Where can we find you? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on any of the socials?
Predominantly LinkedIn. Otherwise, you could visit echodyne.com. Feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn. I'm always happy to answer questions and support the warfighter in any way we can.
Great. Well, hopefully we'll see you next year.
Absolutely.
Best of luck to you and everything, all the good things you guys are doing over at Echodyne.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
We would like to thank Airbus U.S. Space and Defense for sponsoring this episode. Marine Corps Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations require logistical support when and where Marines need it. The Airbus UH-72 Unmanned Logistics Connector provides proven performance and reliability alongside next-generation autonomous capability. As the Marine Corps revolutionizes warfare, the UH-72 Unmanned Logistics Connector evolves to support it. Visit AirbusUS.com to learn more. That's AirbusUS.com. Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices and contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Litchman, William Trudy, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.